Hi folks, Duncan McAlynn here with WindowsSecurity.tips. Today we're going to be discussing alternative means that your organization can employ to be able to help protect and defend yourself against the onslaught of ransomware attacks that we seem to be facing. So one of the things that we need to understand is the main method for ransomware distribution and how systems are getting infected. And there's several different ways. We've seen everything from man-in-the-middle attacks, legitimate websites that have been compromised through their ad networks with things like drive-by downloads. But still today, the main mechanism for being able to distribute malware seems to be email still, through the use of attachments that have macros embedded in them, or they're script files that are able to be easily executed by the end user. And obviously they're going through the security dialogues, the warnings, but still bypassing those and allowing for the malicious payloads to be delivered. So one of the things that I present on quite a bit when I'm at various security conferences and user groups, etc., is think about how those end users are able to actually execute that code to begin with. Probably 80% of what we see through email-based delivery of these payloads could be prevented by making one very simple system configuration change. Now, if you think about the types of file attachments and what is being used for the actual execution of the payloads, it's typically going to be something like an Excel spreadsheet, or more commonly what we're starting to see are PowerShell scripts, VB scripts, something that runs inside the Windows script host, that kind of thing, or simple command files, batch files. So as sysadmins, we have to ask ourselves the question, why are we permitting end users to simply double click or open one of these script file types and it automatically launch within the associated runtime environment, whether if that's PowerShell or the Windows script host or the command shell? Each one of those has different file type associations for the file extension. So a bat file is going to obviously open up in the command shell. Same thing with CMD. A JavaScript will launch inside of the Windows script host. And obviously, a PS1 is going to open up in PowerShell. Why do we have these file associations in place? Why are we still doing this? We're allowing those systems to have that natural association, and as a result, these users, not to their own fault, it's just lack of obviously security training and awareness, but they're able to execute these. So we can make that one simple change, and here's what I recommend, is changing that file extension for each one of those various malicious file types to something like Notepad. Now think about that for a second. If you do have a user that does fall for some kind of phishing scheme and they see that attachment and it's a PowerShell or a JScript, normally what would happen is that malicious script would run within either PowerShell or Windows script host. But if you've changed that association to something like Notepad, if they do still follow through with that action and open it or launch it, then basically all that's going to happen is they're going to be looking at that script inside a Notepad. The worst possible situation that could occur at that point is that the end user freaks out, closes Notepad, and doesn't say anything to anyone. And you guys are oblivious that that phishing attack took place and the user fell for it. Thankfully, there was no damage done because all it did was launch inside a Notepad. It didn't actually execute the script within its runtime environment. Best case scenario is that they do actually contact the help desk, let them know what's going on, stop right there, let you guys see the email, the associated script, and you can determine if this is a one-off situation or is your organization under an advanced persistent threat or attack. So that's the recommendation. Now, the way to go about it, there are several different ways. Obviously, you can push it out through registry modifications, but for larger organizations, you're probably going to want to look at using group policy to push up those changes so that you can keep that under continuous enforcement. And then if you're an organization that uses something like Configuration Manager from Microsoft, then you can use security baselines to monitor and report on everybody's compliance with this new standard in the organization. But there you have it. It's such a simple and basic thing that we can do, but the results will speak for themselves. And like I said, we could probably knock out 80% of the email-borne infections just by making this change and turning off those file associations. And keep in mind, as sysadmins, you still have the ability to run your scripts. Nothing's going to change except for the fact that when you're running them, you're now going to have to provide the path to the runtime environment along with the path to your script. You're not just going to be able to sit at the keyboards and hit something like filename.vbes and it's automatically going to work for you. You'll have to provide the path to the Windows script host executable, but that's all it changes. Otherwise, this will help you guys reduce those ransomware infection rates. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little tip. Thanks for stopping in.